Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Soul School. Jeff can't make it tonight. I think he's on an airplane. I'm not sure exactly where he is, but I do think he is still currently in the solar system. By the way, if any of you are in a place where the sky is clear and dark tonight, do take a moment to step outside and see 8 planets aligned through our whole solar system is visible tonight. My sister went out. She's like, oh, click, click, click. It was great. So anyway, yeah, we had a tender sister moment outside tonight. We have perfectly clear skies and can see everything. And it's beautiful, beautiful. And then, of course, star chart, oh, there he is.
Hi,
Welcome. My guest co-host tonight for Soul School is my dear friend, Stephen Drake. How are you, darling?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm overwhelmed and
Oh,
so
sweet.
grateful.
Well, I know you're very familiar with the show, and we always start the show with classes in session. Um, Everybody who watches the show regularly knows that I've been bitching and complaining about my hair is finally falling out, after 6 months of chemo. I'm lucky to have had it as long as I did.
We'll
So
get you
as soon as
wigs.
I say that, then all my friends start sending me beautiful things, that
Yes.
I can feel pretty for a little while. Of course, as soon as this is over, I'm ripping it off and letting it, what's left of it go wild out of its mind. But yeah, classes in session. We all know that we are as much students as we are teachers. And I I have to tell you, Stephen, months ago, you reached out to Lenny, my assistant in Michigan,
Yes.
and asked if it would be okay if she could give you my address. And so she immediately called me and said, this great guy, Steven, and he wants to be in touch with you. And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. What the fuck else am I doing? I'm sitting around here, at war with cancer, at war with, oh God. I said, absolutely, absolutely. Just go ahead and send him my way. And so we connected in a very profound way. And the theme of the show tonight is do earth angels really exist? So, by introducing you to my viewing audience, you are my proof. I mean, we're having a show and tell moment because you sent me,
No pressure.
yeah, the most beautiful collection of you sent cards to every member of my family after my mother passed. Last June, you sent gifts and candles and a lovely, lovely letter, and were kind enough to include your phone number so that I could call you, and we could connect, and we have done so in a very profound way. So, when I asked you a couple days ago if you would
Yeah.
like to join me on Soul School tonight, you graciously consented to do so. And then I think it was maybe 3 o'clock in the morning the other morning when we were texting back and
Yes.
forth about, okay, so, no, it was during that you had sent me gifts and you wanted to make sure I had gotten them, and I had, and but had in the flurry of activity had not yet texted you to let you know that they had arrived.
No, and I understand what you're going through, and I don't. I checked on you because I wanted to make sure. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
not. And it's regardless. Everybody's busy, so I get it. I don't personalize it ever.
I very, very much appreciate having you in my life. And so after we had a lovely exchange in the middle of the night, I laid my head down and boom, I got slammed with 3 downloads in a row. 3 right in a row, very high pitched, high frequency downloads. And regular viewers of this show know that, it feels like your head's in a bubble. And then all of a sudden you hear the pitch. And if I learned a long time ago not to fight that, just to let it happen for the duration of time that it does.
And because of you saying that and stressing that every time that it happens to me, I fall into it and just embrace it. And I'm like, I'm grateful. It's
Yeah,
gratitude. I'm grateful. Please send me the messages. Help
yeah,
me raise my vibration. What am like I said, I'm the conduit.
yeah,
What do I need to do?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I put a thing up on Facebook yesterday, I think, about my producer, Bill. Um, I was so distressed about events of the world, this country and the world, that I really did say, what's the point? What's the point? What difference does it make? I have no authority, no power, no influence, no, in the grand scheme of things, what difference does it make? And boy, did he set me straight fast. Not only did he start, throwing numbers at me in terms of viewers and continents at me in terms of viewers, but he said that I'm doing what I'm doing with purpose and reason. And I could not deny that. I could not. So I sent him, one of the downloads that I got after we had communicated was about you. And so that's when I asked you if you would come on the show tonight and
And I'll
join
be
me.
honest, when I first got the text, I was like hesitant. I'm like, because in like what you just said, I don't think I'm anybody special. I don't,
Oh,
I'm just living my authentic truth. That's it.
yeah.
That's all I'm doing. I am not doing it's not hocus pocus. It's just, this is who I am. Yeah. So
Sorry, my throat gets really dry
you're good.
sometimes. So,
You're good.
um, so anyway, the theme of the show tonight is, do earth angels exist? And when we spoke, you told me you have some experiences that you can relate. And
Yeah.
I told you about what happened to my darling sister, Christine,
And I was thinking about that all day today
all
after
day.
we had that conversation. And I really truly believe that she is one too. And you are too. I mean, it's so real.
It is.
Like,
I mean,
she just, she, in spite of not feeling well, she's not going to stop. She's not making you go to the market. She's
mhm.
protecting you. She's worried about you. And
Yeah,
that's one of the traits. You're
yeah,
just very selfless, and,
she,
you put yourself last, and
yeah.
she's
Well, I've
amazing.
I've had to learn not to do that, to
Yeah,
not be caboose anymore, and
it's
to
the
put
tough.
my health and welfare first for the first time in my life. But Christine has made some enormous sacrifices for me. She is my caregiver and my healthcare advocate. She has not missed a moment of any of my appointments with my oncologist or the surgeon that I saw originally before they said I was inoperable. He was a very nice man. I don't think he was from this planet either. But that's an interesting story. I'll tell you another time. But um, last week she went to do our grocery shopping at the public supermarket that's not far from here. And of course, she never shops alone. She calls me, you better check and see if the celery's gotten mushy. I can get another stalk. Or, how many potatoes do we have? I'm like, are these things that we could like check before you leave? But bless. Okay, we lost Stephen. He'll be right back. Um,
We lost him for a second. There he comes.
yeah, here he comes. Good.
All right, bye.
Bye. Love you, Bill.
Sorry, I don't know.
That's okay. It's all right. Um, it happens all the time. No kidding.
Not
All the
shocked at
time.
all.
So Anyway, she went grocery shopping and she was gone for the longest time. But she was a professional cake decorator and worked in the bakery at Publix for 16 years. So, of course, when she walks in the front door of the store, everybody's like, "Oh, Christine, hi, how are you?" So she gets waylaid fast. She learned a long time ago not to even go in the frozen food section until the very last thing so it doesn't melt before it gets home. And so she has a large Ford that's kind of bulky and more tank-like than anything. And so she's very careful about pulling it out of parking spots. And she went out, she loaded everything into the back of the car, closed it, looked around, and then got in the car, started it up, looked again to make sure nobody was walking behind her or pulling up behind her. And then she started to back out into out of her parking spot. And suddenly there was a rapping on her window and it shocked her. And she turned and she looked and she saw a lovely elderly woman who was carrying a bouquet of flowers. And Chris panicked because she thought she almost hit this poor person that was trying to maybe cut through or, whatever. And she opened her door and immediately started apologizing profusely and said, "I hope I didn't scare you. I'm so, so sorry." And the woman didn't say anything other than she took the bouquet of flowers and she handed them to my sister. And she said, "These are for you." And Christine's like, "What? Do we know each other?" She didn't say anything other than, again, "These are for you." And Chris was so touched and so just blown away by what was happening. And so she took the bouquet and she reached over and she put them laying sideways on the vacant passenger seat. And then she turned back around to continue her conversation with this woman, and she was gone. And Chris got out of the car, walked behind the car, looked down one side, looked up the other side, went across, looked down one side, she was gone. And she came home and the tears are coming down her face, and she was so emotionally shattered by having this, for lack of a better word, supernatural experience with this lovely older woman who was, I'm sure, the conduit, an earth angel.
Did you get a chance to ask her the ethnicity of the person?
No. Well, but she, no, I didn't even do that. But, to her, it wouldn't matter one way.
I find it ironic, the stories that I've heard and my experiences. Many times the incarnation they are Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, Hispanic people are generally very devout.
Yes.
And so that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But no, she just said she was short and she didn't look frail, but she was thin and she had a mass of gray hair. And she could have just been a spirit.
Yeah.
But in human form, for as long as it took to present Christine with those flowers. And I know that was something happening in the universe to reward her for, whether those flowers came from my mother or my sister, or we'll never know. Not in this life. We'll never know how that happened or why it happened, but it really blew her mind. And she came home and I'm telling you, she was cutting them and arranging them in a vase and making them all beautiful. And the tears just wouldn't stop. I mean, she just cried. She's like, "Oh my God. Oh my God." She's like, "Annie, I am telling you, nothing like this has ever happened to me in my life." And I said, well, it has to me. So I had an experience once where a near-death experience where I was driving home from my sister Nancy's house when she lived out on in Dighton, Mass, which is just at the bottom of Cape Cod, just before you go up into Cape Cod. And I hit a snow squall, and it was nighttime. And I don't know exactly what happened other than the engine, the motor of my windshield wipers stopped working. And the flakes were coming down in clumps like that big. I mean, they were huge, like the size of nickels to quarters. Clumps of snow hitting my windshield. And I was traveling at about 55 miles an hour when I hit the squall. And I had an 18-wheeler in front of me, one behind me. I was in the right-hand lane. And I had an 18-wheeler that was passing me. And I suddenly could not see anything, not anything at all, except white on the windshield, and couldn't do anything to clear it, to see. And I knew I was going to die, that I was going to be crushed by an 18-wheeler. I did not know what to do. And my hands were on the steering wheel, and I literally impaled my palms I was hanging onto the steering wheel so hard that I literally impaled my palms with my fingernails, just sunk in and braced for impact, and knew I was going to be crushed in my car. And suddenly I felt something very warm on top of both of my hands, like another hand on top of my hand, both of them. And I did not move the steering wheel. Whoever was moving the steering wheel got me safely off the highway into the breakdown lane. I put my emergency lights on, and I sat there and I waited, and I sobbed uncontrollably because I knew how close I had come. Within 2 minutes, a Massachusetts State Police officer pulled up behind me, calmed me down, took me out of the car, put me in his car, closed my car up, put flashing lights around it, called to have it towed to my house in Rhode Island, and then he drove me home.
Wow.
So, I shouldn't be here. I should have been crushed by an 18-wheeler that night, and that was about 25 years ago.
It's no coincidence. None of it. You are supposed to be here. It's never, if you weren't here, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Of so many amazing things. We wouldn't have the trilogy. We wouldn't have all these amazing stories.
I know, because that was well before I wrote the books.
So there is no coincidence.
No.
My experiences have been, I had a dear friend, Marianne. She passed away in 2018, and she was older than me. Been a dear friend for me since I was like 18, 19. And she was like another mother figure type person.
Yeah.
And she always told me the story of her granddaughter, her first grandchild, and she said how the baby came early and they didn't know if the baby was going to live or die. And when you're in the hospital, you bump into people, you make conversations with people. So they were in the hospital for like weeks, her and her family. And there was always a man, and it was 2 men and a woman. They were Latino, Spanish. And they were like always hanging out with them. For some reason, they would all always be together. And, they said, oh, well, we're waiting for somebody. We're waiting for somebody. So time went on. Eventually, the baby didn't make it. And, they were, the 3 people were always like very consoling and offering comfort to the family and holding them and crying with them and everything. And when the baby passed, those three people just disappeared. Nobody knew them. Nobody knew who they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they were there for her. They were there for the baby.
Yeah.
And ultimately, she found out too that her granddaughter became the guardian of her grandsons that would come next. So it's a beautiful story, and I can't even tell it the way she would tell it, but it's one of those things that just keeps your wheels moving and thinking, like, it's going to be okay. We will be okay. I think that's the big message of everything. We are built to survive and endure.
Mm-hmm.
And before COVID, I worked part-time in a metaphysical shop. It was a gift shop in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. And it was a nice respite from my group home life and all that stuff. And when I worked there, I learned so much about the craft and crystals. And my boss, who is also a dear friend of mine, this was even before I was Reiki certified and all that. I'm only like level 1, but she was teaching me energy healing and how to balance chakras with the crystal and all that stuff. And one day, her and one of our other coworkers, she was just balancing them out in the corner, and the high pitched frequency started, and I knew that it was angels, and I could hear it in my ears, like it was a frequency beyond any frequency I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And I have really good discernment for energy. I can tell the difference between like a ghost, a spirit energy versus something else.
Yeah, me too.
Starting to pick up more on galactic family.
Yeah, I'll take care of that for you. I already told them.
Yeah, so, and I just knew I wasn't supposed to be over there, and I looked over, and it was weird because we're in this store, and I just saw the light around them. It was just like a tent of light around them. It was like, you guys are good. You got that, right?
Yeah, it's a corona. It's not an aura, because auras can change depending on somebody's energy or their mood, or you can see fluctuations in people's aura, but that
light was the brightest I've ever seen. It was not like sunlight. It's a different.
It's crystalline light. Yes. It is. It's pure white light. Yep. Yeah.
And then probably a couple months after, I was working by myself, and two gentlemen came in the store, very good looking, and they were Spanish men. And I just knew they were I knew they were angels. I knew they were incarnated. I knew one was more advanced than the other. I don't even remember what I sold them, but I'm like texting my friend, my boss. I'm like, there was angels in the store. I swear to God, I know it. So yeah, I love that stuff though. It keeps me going. And when you said that, like, I'm an earth angel, I question things. I don't think I'm from this world, but who does? I know you don't. You're not from this world. I know who I came out of. I don't know where the hell I came from before that, but I was thinking too, my grandmother who raised me, her song for me was Bobby Helms, My Special Angel. Why that? You know what I mean?
The thousands of songs.
Of all of that. And my birthday is April 14th. She was April 7th. So we're both Aries. And she would call in the local radio station and dedicate that to me on my birthday every year, just about. So, it's not, there is no coincidence ever.
No.
And funny, I was thinking about last week was Tree of Life. And so this is my grandmom. This is one of her urns. It's the mini urn. But beautiful. It's Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
There is no coincidences.
No, everyone that's in our life is in our life with purpose and reason. Yeah. We have something to teach them or to learn from them. And I say every week, just for the new viewers, that the whole entire premise of this show is the notion that, and you know, our idea of conventional schooling is that we study the lessons and then we take the test to see how much we've absorbed of the lessons. And in soul school, it works in reverse.
Yeah.
You have to get hit with the test first and then learn the hard lesson from the test that you've gone through. Many years ago, I was still living up in Rhode Island, and I had some friends coming in from overseas, and they were coming through Logan Airport in Boston. And I was like, oh, God, you know, no, I'm coming to get you. I'm taking you out to the best seafood restaurant in Boston. We're going to go, you know, enjoy the evening. And then I'll bring you back to the airport the next morning, brought them home. And then I would bring them back, and then they could, you know, continue on with their journey. And just to spend an evening with them. In fact, I had lunch with one of them today, all these years later. She drove down, her husband's traveling, but she drove down and we met her for lunch today. It was wonderful. And so I'm standing there at the carousel for the luggage, and her husband, Eric's, you know, pulling their luggage off. And I had just had my heart so broken again by someone who lied to me again, because, you know, I trust everybody. I'm so gullible.
Well, sidebar, we attract them.
We do.
We do. Those people.
We do. And yeah. I don't know why, but I mean, I was shattered, and I was trying so hard not to express that to either one of them and just be gloriously happy that they were there. But I was fractured. I was crumbling inside, you know, swearing off all future relationships. And I think I was in my 20s or early 30s. And I looked at the Logan at the time. Well, Logan's always a shit show. I mean, like, you know, it really is. It's one of those airports that you should avoid, like the Black Plague of Europe. Oh, but that said, I looked up the top of the escalator, and there was a tall white man, like tall white, like Pleiadian.
Okay.
Tall whites. And he had a beautiful felt hat on and a flawless suit and a briefcase. And he's riding the escalator down. And she came over to me and she wrapped her arms around me, and she said, I know how much you're hurting. And I just burst into tears. I mean, she just opened Pandora's box. And I'm standing there while her husband's trying to find their luggage, and it's just pouring out of me. The pain was so overwhelming. And he came down the escalator, and he walked directly over to me. And he said, Andrea, some people never know the depth of that kind of love in their lifetime. Be grateful that you had it when you did. And he walked away. And he was about 6'6". I mean, I had to look up into his eyes. And then I closed my eyes and I started to sweep the tears away. And my friend is just standing there, just staring, because he walked about 3 or 4 feet away from me, and then he was gone. And it wasn't that he was lost in the crowd. He was gone. And she witnessed that happen.
Okay.
And I had never seen him in my life. How did he know my name? How did he know what I was going through? How? You know, one of my favorite Christmas movies is It's a Wonderful Life.
Mine
And
too.
I
Yes.
love Clarence. I never miss it. Christmas never comes and goes without me seeing it at least once. At least once. I mean, like, quote the script. I have seen it so many times in my life.
I love the lasso the moon part. That's when I love that. You want me to get the moon for you?
Yeah.
I'll lasso it down for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie too.
Yeah, it's
So
wonderful.
great.
And it is. It's a wonderful life. And no matter how dark things get, and things are pretty dark right now. They
Yeah.
are. It's worth it. It's worth it to be able to even make a modicum of change, to even bring a little comfort to someone who is struggling with stress and anxiety in the same way that I am. And so I have people that reach out to me and show up for me. But the thing, like for instance, with the woman that gave Christine the flowers, those flowers were as much for me as they were for her.
Yeah.
You know, I was meant to be inspired by her encounter. And one of the things that's most marvelous about living in this earth plane of action is that love is masquerades as a noun, but it's really a verb. Love is our superpower. And when it's an action word, and when there is an action of a loving act that manifests itself, it touches not only the
Costs
person,
nothing to be kind.
right?
It costs you nothing to be kind. And me and my best friend Mama, we always go back and forth and say that, like, happiness is a choice. It really is. It costs you nothing to be kind. What does it cost you to hold the door for somebody as they're coming into the store?
And say
Like little things like that, or just being polite, being kind. It costs you nothing. And someone might be having the worst day of their life, and you might be that one that changes that for them. Because we all get down in the dumps, we all get desolate, we all feel that. I think it's just par for the course.
It is
part of the human condition. But ultimately, I speak from experience, like mea culpa. I have it too. There's days I'm like, what the hell? Why? But there's always something that pulls me back, and I always see that light at the end of the tunnel, that it is worth it. It's worth it. It's worth everything.
just to help one person
Yeah.
every day to I don't know. You've been a viewer of the show. You know, I go over this all the time with people and remind them to just take a moment to step outside their own self-consciousness. And I use that phrase perhaps a little differently. You know, most people think of being self-conscious as, oh, you know, I'm being looked at, or oh, I'm embarrassed, I'm not dressed properly, or oh, you know, that. But it's not. It's being self-aware.
Yes.
Self-conscious. But when we live in that space all the time, when we make it all about us, then that becomes self-destructive. And it's not until we step out of that and we observe what's going on around us and enter into our plane of action with the intention of making the world a better place, perhaps only by sitting next to a solitary figure on a park bench and saying good morning and attempting to strike up a conversation. You never know what wounds people are carrying. We're all so good at hiding our pain, hiding our emotions, pretending. Fake it till you make it is a cliche for a reason.
Yeah,
you know, it is. And I mean, just holding a door for someone. I love that outfit. Oh my God, you look great. You know, you don't have to know them to say that. And I think that it raises the vibration. It resonates in a way that makes the world just a little happier for that moment. You know
And
what I mean?
that's where we are right now, because everybody is so afraid.
Yes, so afraid.
That's what everybody's picking up on. It's the fear.
Yeah,
And there is only two paths. It's love or fear.
that's it.
Choose love.
Yep. And they are the opposite of each
Yeah.
other. You know, people think that love and hate are juxtaposed.
No.
It's not. Hatred is born of fear. Hatred is born of fear. And so the opposite of love is fear. And as we linger in the ether of that, all it does is lower the vibration of the entire planet.
Yeah.
And we
And
are
if you're sensitive too,
yep.
if
Oh
you're a
God.
sensitive person
Yeah.
and you don't know how to shield yourself,
Yeah.
and you don't practice grounding, and once again, mea culpa, like I said to my mom this week and my aunt, I was like, I don't know why. I just want to drive to the beach and I just want to run into the ocean. I know it's 38 degrees, but I don't care. Like, I just need to connect to some, because you get caught up in this bubble of blah, like the malaise. It sucks. It just is horrible.
Yeah, it does. You know, it's not whether or not any of us ever occasionally fall down the rabbit hole. It's how fast can you get yourself back up to the surface?
Yeah.
How fast can you crawl out of that inevitable trip and fall?
Yeah.
If you have well-developed human emotions, then you have to learn not to relinquish your being to fear, to elevate it to such an extent that it dictates your mindset. You know, it's fear is supposed to be that tap on the shoulder. Do not get in that car with him. Do not go down that dark alley. You know, I mean, that's its purpose.
Yeah.
And we empower it. We
gut
give
feeling
it
for
control.
guardian angels, right?
Yep.
It's that whole idea. That's I think that's like listening to your inner GPS, and that goes back to just knowing who you are. Do you know who you are?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to make healthy boundaries to protect yourself, even with the people you love?
Mhm.
It all goes back to that. And even like for me, as much as I miss my grandmother, I miss her every day, talk to her every day, and she's with me every day.
Yeah.
But for her to pay, she had to go so I could grow, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because I feel like she passed her power to me.
Mhm.
Because I am not the same person I was August 14th, 2020, the day before she died. I know I'm not. There's things that come out of my lips that I know it's her. It's like, she it was like she prepared me for that, to carry on and be strong.
Mhm.
And I've told my one cousin, she's like a little sister to me. Basically grew up together. I'm 10 years older, but I told her, she was going through a rough patch, and I was like, don't you forget who you are. I was like, you are the granddaughter of Gene Drake. You better get your shit together.
Yeah.
And she gave me the power, and I'm holding it for you too. I'm holding it for all of us.
Yeah.
And it also, I was thinking about when you had Sheila Seepy
Yes.
on A World Awakening. And
Mhm.
she was talking about how like the soul convergence or souls merging and things like that.
Mhm.
And not that I think that like me and my grandmom are like one soul now or anything like that, but I do believe she's passed a lot of her power on to me. And that's why I said to you tonight, I was like, I feel like I walk with 10,000 angels behind my back.
Yeah.
I am divinely blessed and favored. I never question it.
I have an army of earth angels who pray for me daily. who
Yes.
keep that line of communication open between the world and the netherworld, between the 3D and all the other dimensions, all the life forces that are working on my behalf. And I feel it. I feel it. And you know what? I have scary moments. Like right now, I'm losing the sight in my left eye. And that's the chemo. And eventually it will be restored. You
Yeah.
know, nothing that can be done about it right now. It's a side effect. It's affecting my sight. And so every time it blurs suddenly on me, or I see a flash of light over here, because the sign of the retina is trying to detach, I'm like, okay, stop that now. I want to be able to open my eyes, and I want to be able to see through both of my eyes. And I need for this to be healed. And it passes. It passes. And there's something going on that allows that it's almost transcendent when what is like literally a physical problem, a manifestation and a side effect that is a physical problem that can be healed. Um, and of course, I put my drops in every night, and I do what I'm supposed to do on my end to mitigate
Yes.
this effect. But every now and then it gets really bad. Like I feel like I'm literally losing my sight in my left eye, and I have to
Well,
stop and just connect.
take that pause. Yeah. I think with what you're going through too, for me, I feel like you are on the precipice of something great because you're going to show them the scientific world that we are energy, we can heal ourselves. And I carry that with me just with like basic little things that I go through. And just like
Mhm.
me, I'm like, I want to manage my diabetes better, like little, just stuff that happens, life
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
but we can heal it. And you are living proof of that. You're showing that every day. So
yeah.
please keep it up.
I
It's
Well, I yes, sir. No, based on the diagnosis that I got when I got it, which was in July of last year, uh, I should be gone already. Not
yeah,
not
should
out
be.
mowing the
Yeah,
lawn, no,
yeah.
trimming the bushes,
By
raking
whose standards
and
though? You're changing it.
walking.
You are changing the game.
Yeah, yeah.
I really believe in it.
I have to, so
Yeah,
that I can continue to play whatever role it is that I have. And you must continue to play whatever role that is. And what that role is to be the conduit, to be the earth angel for someone else, to lift someone else up from the depths of despair.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just I sent you the photograph of the aurora angel that appeared over the prayer circle that my friends
That
in
was
Michigan.
amazing.
Isn't that? And that's going to be the cover of my next book.
Yeah, that was. I mean, was that Deb DeRusse and all them?
Yeah,
Oh, I love her.
I know.
How do you
They're all
not love them? They're
they're all
phenomenal.
great.
That whole group is phenomenal.
I know. I don't know what it is about Michigan. Honest to God, the frozen tundrites. I mean, they're just up there, scraping, chipping the ice away from their boots as they're trying to walk into their houses. And Lenny's probably laughing. Len and Jeff are probably laughing their asses off right now.
Of
Uh,
course.
but yeah, she's monitoring chat and all. But I mean, they live in a magical place, and I have so many friends in Michigan. I've spent I don't know how much time up there with them, and for them to have done that for me, but then to have literally have an angel manifest in the lights of the aurora borealis was the most, that is hands down, no competition, the most incredible photograph I have ever seen in my life.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. I should have sent it to Bill to put up on the screen tonight, but I know I've done it before. We've done it in the past. We've shared it. And
Yeah.
I'll share it again on Facebook as a kind of a follow-up to this show. But, when you think back, if anybody takes the time to think back over the course of their lives, I venture to guess that almost everyone has had a spiritual experience that can't be explained any other way, is utterly implausible. The only explanation is that angels exist. I happen to think they're most likely their own extraterrestrial race. But I don't know. That's my sense of things, but I don't know.
I agree with you when you say everything's connected. I think everything is all one thing. I totally believe that. Even if I am communing with the goddess, in my pagan path, whatever, we're doing circle, but then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, they're galactic family people. Somebody's here. They're here. Someone else is floating around out in the back. So it's all connected. I also did just a little research beforehand on Earth Angels, what it typed up, just to share with the class if I can, real fast.
Sure.
But I'll just kind of break it down a little bit. But it said that an Earth Angel, these are enlightened souls thought to originate from angelic realms, the cosmos, or paradise dimensions. They volunteer to take human form and provide guidance, healing, and light during pivotal times in humanity's evolution. Like we're not experiencing that right now, right?
Exactly.
Types of Earth Angels: light workers, healers, guides and mentors, star seeds, environmentalists. Thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And 5 signs you might be an Earth Angel. Feeling like you don't belong. How many times do you say that? I don't belong here.
Island missed it twice. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Number 2, strong sense of purpose. Number 3, attracting those in need. Why? It's the good and the bad and the ugly of it, because we do attract probably the most wounded people. It's like they just like latch onto us.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4,
like to breathe. Yep.
Yes. Experiencing synchronicities or angelic encounters.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
And 5, feeling a deep connection to the planet. I mean, if that isn't who we are, in a nice little summation.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it truly is. I believe that, I said in the description that I wrote for the show tonight, oh, Bill, he's pushing me around with this 5 minutes left thing. Oh, God, I love him so much. But, yeah, we just blew through an hour pretty freaking quick.
Yeah.
I look back across the span of my 66 plus years, and I feel so blessed and so graced. I remember, I tell people all the time, dare to believe.
Yes.
If anybody out there hasn't seen the film Conclave, please see it. Please, I highly recommend it. Of all the films that came out this year, I think it is the most poignant of all. And one of my favorite messages from the film is that we must have doubt, because without doubt, certainty is our enemy. None of us should ever claim that we're certain of anything, because that's disingenuous. We don't know.
No.
But it's perfectly fine to have doubt, to have that moment of, am I alone in the universe, or is there really something out there, some benevolent source of energy that really does care about my existence? Is that real or is it not? It is a legitimate question to ask because, as Father Thompson said in the film, played by my favorite actor, Rafe Fiennes.
Love him.
Oh my God, he's just an amazing, amazing actor. But he said, without doubt, there is no mystery. Well, isn't it the mystery that keeps us growing spiritually, that keeps our evolution going, that we seek answers that we will never have in this realm, and we'll be fortunate to have them in the next realm, in the afterlife?
Well, and I believe that's why we're here too. I think we are here to learn and to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
You should, hopefully you are different from, uh age 10 to age 40. Hopefully you've evolved somewhat, changed a little bit there.
I
So
evolve at a rapid rate every day.
yeah.
I'm like, no two sunsets are alike. And I talked with you. I believe I was talking with you about sometimes you have to be stressed. There's this phrase that's used down south called, blackberry winter, and
We're saying, yeah.
and the blackberry bushes will not produce fruit until they are hit with a frost. And there's got to be a frost or there will be no blackberries, because it stresses the plant and it produces the berries. And if it's too warm, there will be no berries. If it's too cold, there will be no berries. But when the first warmth comes and all of the berries begin to form, they have to be hit with a frost in order to produce. So that that to me, I think, is analogous to our own journey that each one of us makes. But
I find myself too in this 2025 and going beyond. I constantly go back and think about 100 years ago, the 20s and the stock market crash and the Great Depression. And, we are of that stock, and they survived.
Yeah.
And we need to just, like you said, step outside of ourselves for 5 minutes and take a breath and really think about that, because they made it, man, and we wouldn't be here if they didn't.
Yep. Well, on that happy note, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me
for
tonight.
having me.
It's been my pleasure entirely.
Yes.
And I know that you will be back with me again. There's always so much more to discuss.
Oh God, yeah.
But in answer to the question, do earth angels exist? Yes, they do.
And yes to you too, and Christine, and
yes.
Yes.
And all of us that live with good intentions to make the world a better place. And so we will close out our little classroom tonight with the expression that everyone should carry in their heart all the time. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the beacon of hope and be the light you seek. Class dismissed.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Take care.